Welcome into T4G Sports. So today we're going to talk about something and it happens every year. I didn't think I was going to be talking about this. Is JJ McCarthy a top 5 pick? Is he a top 10 pick? Is he even a first round pick? That's what we're going to talk about today and give you guys our opinion on this. And this time of year, before we start talking about JJ McCarthy, this time of year, it's the dog and pony show hype train year, right? This is that section of the year. I mean, remember last year, I'm pretty sure Daniel Jeremiah had Will Levis in his mock draft ahead of CJ Stroud. Okay, that's ridiculous. And then wasn't Bryce Young supposed to be like Bryce or Steph Curry of quarterbacks? You remember hearing that, the whole Steph Curry, and then CJ Stroud was dumb, couldn't process defense. This hype train is ridiculous, and this happens every year. Somehow the season stops, and then all of a sudden guys get way better when the season stops in everyone's eyes. Oh, this guy's a legend. You got to get him. You got to go grab him. It doesn't make sense. Malik Willis was a first-round pick. You remember that? Do you remember how Desmond Ridder was a first-round pick? I mean, it just never ends, guys. And the hype train is all too real. And in the combine, I hate to break it to you guys, but it's a dog and pony show. It's a joke. It's a joke to assess talent at the combine. It really is a joke. They're in tights. There's no one trying to tackle them. It's way, way different. And even the 40-yard dash, you look at Derrick Henry, he ran, a 4.4 40-yard dash? And people are like, yeah, he's fast, but he's definitely going to get caught from behind. And then you watch him run, and they have the computer chip in his shoulder pad testing his, seeing how fast he is. And the dude runs, he ends up running faster than guys who ran faster 40-yard dashes than him. So just be careful. Take it with a grain of salt. Okay, so I'll say this. You know what a first-round pick means to me? It means a game changer. It means a guy who's going to change the game for your team. That's why I'm choosing you first, particularly if we're going top 5. There's only two reasons why you should have a top 10 pick in the draft. You're either a terrible team or you traded up for it. Those are the only two ways you can get a top 10 pick. Okay? And I think what you have to be careful of is saying like, well, this guy has the potential, right? Too many teams draft like that, and it almost always doesn't pay off for them. Almost always. So, if you look at it and you say, for a guy who's going to make a change right away, CJ Stroud, it was easy. People just neglected to look at it. CJ Stroud showed people's lack of knowledge and their emotions, because it was very easy to see that CJ Stroud was an absolute baller. Very easy. Look at the Georgia game, for example, where they broke records for how many first-round picks they had, and they filled defenses with NFL talent, by the way. Filled them. And what did C.J. Stroud do against them? And it's simple, because you'll see he did the same thing with Houston. He put the team on his back. Both running backs were injured in that game. Okay, his starting running back and then the backup running back was injured. They ended up starting a running back that was a transfer linebacker that they converted over to running back, and the other running back was a true freshman. Okay, that was the running backs. The starting tight end, Cade Stover, went down with an injury in the first quarter. Both wide receivers, who are NFL talent, did not play the full game. One didn't even play the game at all, which is Jackson Smith and Jigba. And then Marvin Harrison, who was dominating Georgia at that time, went down with an injury. Okay, and you look at that entire thing, and then you go, okay, what did C.J. Stroud do? He still threw for 4 TDs and almost threw for 400 yards. At the very last play of the game, when all the guys are injured, he's running down the field to put him in field goal position just for their kicker to come out and miss it, which we all know if they would have made that field goal, they easily would have dog-walked TCU. So for people to not look at C.J. Stroud and think he was that good, it was obvious that your emotions were in the way, or you didn't have enough knowledge in the sport of football. It was either one of the two. You pick. I don't give a shit. I really don't. So for JJ McCarthy against the Washington game, the national championship game, they could have started a kicker and they still were going to win. You had 10 completions, 140 yards, no TDs, no interceptions. You did not win them the game, and it's statistically proven. It's not even a slight opinion. Okay, against Alabama, I know he played great against Alabama, but I would rather have him played this type of level against a top 5 defense. Alabama did not have a top 5 defense. Okay, Alabama flat out struggled against USF. They struggled against Auburn. The only reason Alabama even got into the playoff was pure luck, and it was obvious. This is not the same Alabama of 4 years ago. So although I think it was a good performance, I'm not looking at it and having my thoughts covered and blanketed with emotions of going, well, it's Alabama. Yeah, but Alabama 4 years ago is much different than Alabama last year, because Alabama 4 years ago was going to dog walk USF. They were going to dog walk Auburn, or at least do better than what they did. And so, yeah, I would have rather have him done that against Penn State and Ohio State, because Penn State and Ohio State both had top 5 defenses. They actually had top 3 defenses. Their defenses were nasty. Okay, so if we look at the last 4 games of the season, including the Big Ten Championship, right, you had 1 TD, 1 interception in the last 4 games, and you didn't even hit over 150 yards passing. Okay, that's not great, in my opinion. Penn State, 7 completions, 0 TDs, 0 interceptions. Maryland, 141 yards, 12 completions, 0 TDs, 1 interception. Ohio State, which I actually think was a good performance for him. However, even still it being a good performance, it was still 16 completions, 148 yards, 1 TD, no interceptions. You notice how his yards keep looking very similar, even though it's the completions and the attempts they're about the same too, a little bit up and down. But you notice how it's about the same, and that's because they just said, we're not going to rely on JJ, we're going to rely on the other aspects of our football team. So the team themselves, Michigan themselves, said, we're not going to rely on JJ. That's basically what they did. It's very obvious if you just watch the game and you look at the statistics. It's very obvious. And they did a lot of trick passes as well. They were very good at trick passes. That's really what they were doing. A lot of trickery going on there. Okay, so you look at that. Michigan State, he did great against Michigan State, but so did a lot of other quarterbacks. Michigan State was terrible. So a lot of quarterbacks did good against Michigan State who are not NFL top 5 pick players. I mean, so you got to look at it in its entirety. Okay, and it doesn't help that this is the game that he played great, but this is the game here where the news broke that Michigan was not doing things above board. So all these games, before that game, Michigan was apparently not doing things above board, allegedly. Okay, so that doesn't help. And on top of it, the Bowling Green game, this game here, it was a game that really impacted me. Because it was terrible, a terrible performance. Wide open touchdown passes missed on several occasions. And then they would come back to the same play because Bowling Green's defense was going to run the exact same play. And this time, I would bet that they came down to JJ, go, the same play is going to be open. The guy's going to be wide open in the touchdown like he was last time. Okay, wide open for a touchdown, right in the end zone. And he still threw 3 interceptions. I mean, it was just bad. So I want to know, was Michigan, when it comes out, was Michigan cheating against this game or were they not? Because the yards and the completions were the same as the time that they weren't allegedly cheating. Okay, and you threw 3 interceptions. That's and on top of it, it doesn't help Michigan's case that Michigan had one of the worst actual strength of records this last season. Compared to the Big Ten. I'll say that, compared to the Big Ten members, because usually what the Big Ten does is you have to play a non-conference Power 5 opponent for one of your away games. And quite simply put, they didn't do it. They played ECU, UNLV, and Bowling Green while Ohio State was playing Notre Dame. Okay, you had Penn State who scheduled Auburn and went into SEC country, and that's still better than ECU, UNLV, and Bowling Green. And so that doesn't help their case. So for me, with all this stuff being considered, I have JJ McCarthy as a 2nd to a 3rd round pick. I don't have him as a 1st round pick, and I know a lot of the hype and stuff is there. But look, I'd rather be right, or I'd rather be wrong than right. I really would. I would not want to draft him and be right and go, Jesus Christ, he's a 2nd to 3rd round pick. And we just drafted him that high? What the hell were we thinking? I wouldn't want to be that guy. I'd rather him go to another team and be like, whew, I was wrong on that one. But man, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that because I don't think you can look at the information here and say, well, it was easy that he put the team on his back. I don't think you can say that. I would like you to point out the game where he put the team on his back. I mean, against Alabama, they got 7 sacks on defense. That offense couldn't do anything. They struggled. Alabama really struggled on offense because Michigan, Penn State, and Ohio State, they all had top 5 defenses. Their defenses were insane. Okay, so that's where I'm at. I think he's a 2nd to a 3rd round pick. Anyways, I'm sure there's going to be people who are going to say, you just hate Michigan, whatever. And that's not the case. He could play on any team in all of America, and it wouldn't matter. You'd get the same thing. I can promise you that. I don't give an absolute dog crap about where he went to school. Not at all. So let us know what you guys think down below.